Today, in this webinar, we will be discussing navigating immigration and cultural integration in Germany for Latin American expats. I'm your moderator. My name is Lalima Senanayake, and I am the Director of Research and Grants at Huitzilli Cultural Expression. I am joined by two experts today, Dr. Sheila Rostas, an immigration lawyer based in Germany, and Alejandra Coronel Mengel, a cultural integration specialist by training and the founder CEO of Huitzilli Cultural Expression based in Mexico. So I will just let you know the purpose of this webinar. We are trying to provide you with an overview of the services we offer as a team and to highlight the connection between formal processes such as visa procedures, which Dr. Sheila is a expert in, and the informal processes such as cultural integration, which Alejandra is an expert in. As the scholar Hofstede defines it, cultural integration involves the unwritten rules of the social game. So that is where we are getting at from this webinar. So without further ado, I invite Dr. Sheila Rostas to provide an overview of the formal rules of immigration to Germany, including the legal frameworks and visa options. So, Dr. Rostas, the floor is yours. You can introduce yourself and start.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you. Good evening. It's very nice to be here with you today. I would like to talk about the German visa types, first of all, and then you will have some questions. Feel free to ask if you have any questions. And then Alejandra will speak about the cultural aspects. So let's start with just a little bit of terminology. The basic words like what is the visa, what is a residence permit. For example, the visa, because many times we confuse these two. What is a visa? The visa is issued by the German mission abroad, and this is in your passport. So this is actually a sticker in your passport, and it always has to fit the purpose of stay. It's not possible to enter with a Schengen visa and then in Germany to change it, to switch it to a national visa, to work permit, for example. But it's also important to mention that there are some so-called friendly countries for Germany, like US, Canada, UK, Israel, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. And the citizens of these countries can enter Germany and they can apply for national visa, long-term residence permit from inside the country. But for other countries, other citizenships, other nationalities, it's not possible, not allowed. Then what is a residence permit? So a residence permit is after arrival. When you already arrived to Germany, you have to switch to change the visa to the proper permit, the card itself. And this is issued by the responsible immigration office in Germany. The jurisdiction depends where the applicant is based. We apply at the city where you actually live, based on your location and your registered address in Germany. And in case of employment, the residence permit will be limited to the length of the work contract and also to that certain company and position, but maximum for 4 years. So you will get it for 4 years. Or if the work contract is shorter, then you get the residence permit, the work permit until the end of the work contract. Then what is this green additional sheet? This is also super important because there are all the restrictions that are related to the visa and your stay. Those are listed in this, it's called Zusatzblatt, the additional sheet. And after 2 years of employment in Germany, you can have free access to the labor market. And then you are not tied to one employer anymore. But until you reach the 2 years, then you always need to do also an employer change application. If you change a job, if you change company, you change position, then what is a pre-approval of the Federal Employment Agency? So if you don't apply for a blue card, but any other work permit type, like for example, standard work permit, specialist, or anything else other than the blue card, we need, but also for blue card shortage profession, we will talk about it later, we need a so-called pre-approval of the Federal Employment Agency. This authority, this Federal Employment Agency will check if the salary will match the required salary for that certain profession. And they also check if the candidate has the necessary qualifications, like university degree or enough relevant work experience, vocational training, and they will kind of pre-approve if the candidate fulfills this desired role according to the work contract. Then what are the different types of work permits? The most important and the most prestigious visa type is the blue card. And this is really for highly skilled individuals, the German labor market really needs. There are three criteria. For example, the most important is the university degree, that you need to have a university degree, and this university degree has to be recognized by Germany. We will talk about it later. What does it mean to be recognized? There is the ANABIN database. Either it's listed there, or if it's not listed, then we have to do it's a separate degree recognition process. It's called Statement of Comparability, ZAB. So a university degree, and it has to be equivalent to the German degree. Then there is a minimum salary, annual gross salary criteria also. In 2025, it's 48,300 euros. If the salary will reach this, then the candidate can qualify for a blue card. And it's also very important that the university degree has to match the position, the desired position. So if someone has a different qualification, different educational background, different degree, and it doesn't match the position, then they can't qualify for a blue card. And it's also very useful and very nice that no German skills are required, because most of the expats don't speak German at the beginning. And the legal reference is, this is the Aufenthaltsgesetz, that's the German Residence Act. The paragraph 18b is the blue card. Then inside, like within the blue card, there is also a very special type of blue card. That's the so-called little blue card, like shortage professions. Blue card for shortage professions. What are these shortage professions? For example, like IT engineer and mathematics. There are a lot of sciences and all of those professions that Germany needs. They also have to have a university degree, either equivalent to the German degree or German university degree. And here the salary criteria is lower than the previous the so-called big blue card. And here the salary is 43,759 euros per year, annual gross salary. It's always the gross salary. And it's also very important that the university degree has to match the desired position. Here, no German language skills are required. And yes, this is a little bit of difficulty that the Federal Employment Agency pre-approval is needed. So also here we have to request for the Federal Employment Agency's pre-approval in advance. And yes, also IT engineering, especially IT and engineers, every type of engineer, system engineer, science. And there are a long list. There's a big list of shortage professions. Then there is the standard, the so-called standard work permit. This is the work permit for highly skilled individuals. This is a residence permit for qualified professionals who have a university degree, but they don't reach the blue card salary limit. Also here, there must be a university degree because Germany focuses very much on the university degree. So it's really important to have a university degree, a qualification, academic background, because the country prioritizes those individuals who are really highly skilled, and they need also them. So the qualification criteria is a university degree, either abroad or from a German university, and it has to be equivalent, recognized. Vocational training is also fine. The salary criteria is lower, but also here the university degree has to match the job description and the position. Here, it's important that the German language skills are basically required, but if the company writes a statement that no German skills are needed for this position and the company language is English, then it's also accepted. And for this visa type, for this work permit type, we also need the Federal Employment Agency's pre-approval. There is a very, very special residence permit type for IT specialists, because Germany really, really needs IT specialists. And here they must have work experience. In this case, we have to provide some recommendation letters from formal employers or business partners or clients, but especially employers. And they must have minimum 3 years of work experience in the last 7 years in this field, exactly in this field. There is also a salary criteria here. And ideally, German language skills would be required. But if the company writes a statement also here, it's also okay. If the HR department will write a letter that the company language is English and no German skills are needed. And also for this type of permit, we need the Federal Employment Agency's pre-approval. And this is the reference in the German Residence Act. And there is an additional law, the German Employment Regulation for this type of visa. There are also company specialists. They don't have to be IT specialists. So it's very similar to the IT specialists, but they are not in IT. But for example, in this category, we already work together with SEO consultant or even casino croupier or someone who is a veterinary doctor exactly in Mexico, but they don't work here at the farm as a veterinary doctor, but as a farm technician or farm specialist. So it can be very different, various backgrounds, and we can call them company specialists. It's the paragraph 3 of the employment ordinance that's called Beschäftigungsverordnung. And there are also some special nationalities where they have advantages. So if they have difficulties, we can refer to this paragraph also, the 26, but this is really rare. And it's still important to talk a little bit about the differences between the blue card and the standard work permit, because it's not exactly the same. Of course, blue card is much more advantageous. Blue card is the best. That's like a VIP status. And yeah, especially because many expats want to have permanent residency. After first they get the so-called temporary residency, and then they apply for the permanent residency. And if they are blue card holders, after 33 months, they can apply for permanent residency. And if they have language skills, even after 21 months. And it's not necessary to have the pre-approval of the Federal Employment Agency. At the beginning, they don't need language skills. While if someone doesn't qualify for a blue card, but they have the standard so-called normal work permit for highly skilled individuals, then we need the Federal Employment Agency pre-approval. They need language skills in German, unless the company will write a statement that they don't need it and the company language is English. And here the biggest disadvantage is that, well, kind of that's so big disadvantage, but still it's less relaxed than the blue card, that after 48 months, they can apply for the permanent residency and not after 33 months, like for the blue card. But also there used to be a rule that if they are married, then their spouse has to pass the language exam. but that is not like that anymore. And what are the duties of the immigration office? So yes, the employment is only permitted if this is expressively noted in the residence title and also in the visa. Many times there are some special requirements in the additional sheet, in the green sheet, the Zusatzblatt that I mentioned at the very beginning. And it will be very important that the companies, the employers follow those rules according to the additional sheet. Otherwise, there can be a lot of difficulties and penalties. There's a huge fine if they don't follow those instructions according to the permit. So what companies need to pay attention when they hire from third countries, especially the qualification of the employee. There are local salary margins. In Germany, they are really strict about the salaries. And there is a guide also, there's a guideline. And the Federal Employment Agency, when they do the pre-approval, they check also the salary. Yes, sometimes it's also important to check the country of origin because there are many countries where the waiting time for visa appointment is really long. Many times, for example, from Nigeria, Uganda, there are certain countries where we have to wait for several months. And then there is a fast track, a so-called fast track application that I will speak about later a little bit. That can be helpful when at the certain embassies, the waiting time is so long for a normal standard visa appointment that it would be really so much and the employer doesn't want to wait. But for example, in Latin America, speaking about Mexico, Canada, California, no, oh my God, sorry. Sorry. Speaking, because I wanted to say Colombia, there are a lot of candidates from Colombia to a farm, veterinary doctors from Colombia, and we have to wait just a very short, there's a very short waiting time at the embassy. Or in Mexico, for example, it happens that from one day to another, they get an appointment in Mexico at the embassy, at the German consulate. And that's really, really advantageous because if they forget something, they forget documents, they forget something, it's really, really good in Mexico. Also in Brazil, it's really fast. With Argentina, recently, it's a little bit slower, but especially Mexico is super fast, like from 1 week to another, 1 day to another, and Colombia that we have very, very good experiences with. Then qualification of employees. So Germany really focuses on the degree. And if your degree is not listed in ANABIN database, that is a German database of foreign degrees and professions. And we always have to check first if the degree and also the university is listed there. If not, then we have to do this ZAB, Statement of Comparability. It takes 2 weeks for blue card, and if it's a normal standard work permit, then it takes 2 months. So this is necessary to be equivalent to the German degree because they issue the visa only if the degree is equivalent to the German degree. So the qualification is super important. Also the experience, if we don't apply for blue card or standard work permit, or they don't have a university degree, it can happen that the candidates don't have a university degree. In this case, minimum 3 years of relevant work experience. And these 3 years have to be in the last 7 years. So for example, IT specialists. Then I mentioned many times the ANABIN database. We always click on this link and we check according to countries. We have to check also the university and also the degree because both have to be there. And the degrees have to be listed as A3 or A4 in order to be equivalent to the German degree. And we also check the universities. It has to be H+. And sometimes it's H plus minus. It's not sure that it's accepted. And it's very, very important that both the degree and the university has to be listed in ANABIN database. And then if it's not listed, so we don't find either the degree or the university or neither of those, then we have to do the ZAB statement of comparability. So then we have to go to this website of a special institution, and we have to do this special examination of the foreign degree, and they check if it's comparable to German university degrees. There is an application fee. It's 200 euros, and more or less it takes 2 weeks for blue card. And for other candidates, it can be even 2 or 3 months. And how does the visa process looks like? We always check the country of origin and the qualification, the salary, because many times if they want to pay less, it won't be approved, because in Germany there are very strict minimums. And we have to book a visa appointment at the German consulate abroad. Most of the time we apply abroad. And if necessary, if it's not a blue card, we have to get the Federal Employment Agency pre-approval. It can take 4 to 6 weeks. And if it's necessary to do the ZAB, statement of comparability of the degree, we also have to do that. So that's why it can take sometimes several months to get the visa. Translations and apostille, many times it's required also, but it's always listed in the embassy checklist. So the first thing during the intro call with our clients, we always explain what is in the checklist. We go through the checklist. They can share their screen when we speak, and we go through what are the necessary documents. We prepare the documents together. Most of the time, if they are issued in English, but originally issued by the university, that is usually accepted, but it's not always like that. Sometimes some embassies require certified German sworn translation or legalized translation. The legalization is also to see if it's authentic, if the document is authentic. Sometimes both legalization, sworn translation is necessary. And sometimes even the apostille is required, but it always depends on the embassy. And also after arrival in Germany, it depends where you move to. If you move to Berlin, there will be different rules. If you move to Munich or Düsseldorf, there will be different requirements. And sometimes it's really better at the beginning, at least, to apply in a big city or to move to a bigger city, because it can be better than a little town or a little village in the middle of the nowhere. But it always depends where you move to. There's a little bit of timeline just to have an idea. So first we start with an intro call. We get to know each other and we explain how is the process. We assess the situation, what are the weak points, what to make stronger. And then there's a visa appointment. So the candidates have to go to the visa appointment. Then, yes, of course, we have to find an apartment already in advance, book a flight. And after arrival, the first step is the address registration at the city hall. And then after the address registration, we automatically get the tax ID. It's usually 2 to 6 weeks, and the candidates get it by post. After that, you have the visa expiry date, and until the visa expiry date, we have to apply for a residence permit. And that will be the card, the residence permit, the last step. And yes, this is what I mentioned just very shortly, the accelerated process. If there are some countries where the waiting time for an appointment is so much that also sometimes in Turkey it happens, but in Central and South America, this is not an issue most of the time, but it can happen that the waiting time is long and you have to wait several months for a visa appointment. Then we can do the fast track process. This is a very special process. It's based on the paragraph 81A. And it means that we apply in Germany, inside Germany at the Foreign Office, based on the head office address of the company, the employer. So this can happen when the candidate has an employment contract and they come to work. And it's always the geographically competent Foreign Office based on the head office address of the employer. That is where we have to submit an application, and then they will inform the relevant embassy. And then it's faster because then you get an appointment faster. And also the visa issuance will be faster than the normal. After the visa appointment, the visa issuance will be much, much faster. So this is a really good thing, but it has an administrative fee of 411 euros to be paid to the local foreign office in Germany. Then the candidates, if the candidates are already in Germany, the first step is that you need to check your additional sheet, the restrictions, check the validity, the expiry date, and yes, sometimes we need to do extension, we need to apply for permit change, employer change. Once you have a valid permit, we can do that in Germany until the expiry date. If it happens that you apply and maybe in the meantime, until the application is still ongoing, the visa or the permit expires, then we need a document. It's called Fiktionsbescheinigung. And with that, you can travel. So you can travel because otherwise with an expired permit, you couldn't come back. And this is like an additional document to be able to travel after the expiry date. How about students? So if you come to study to Germany, you can work either 180 days full time, like 8 hours a day, or 290 days. It's also possible, but then only part time, only 4 hours a day. And if you would like full-time employment, then either you finish your studies, so you graduate, or we switch. We just have to switch, we do permit change. There is also a job seeker visa, but now I would rather speak about the Chancenkarte just a little bit because that is new, and it's called opportunity card. This is for job seekers, and it's very, very new. And this is really, really useful for those ones who would like to come to look for a job, but they don't have a job offer yet. They don't have an employment contract yet, but they would really like to come to Germany and to look for a job physically in Germany. Then the Chancenkarte is really, really nice. There's a point system also, but for that you have to show that you can financially support yourself during the job search in Germany. And that's for 6 months, but it's also possible to prolong it to another 6 months. And what documents are needed from the employer side? So if you come to work with a company, the HR department has to fill out some documents, for example, employment declaration. It has a horrible long name, Erklärung zum Beschäftigungsverhältnis. And you need to have a work contract, a job description letter, and most of the time we need a statement that no German skills are needed for this position. And yeah, from your side, from the employee side, we always need the passport, if you have a current permit, or the CV, and the university degree is very important to check. And all the rest will depend on the embassy's checklist. So first, we always need to see your passport and your degree, and also your CV to check what kind of visa we can apply for, if you qualify for a blue card or you qualify for something else. And yes, so I think from my part, these are the main visa types in Germany. And if you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, these are the main visa types. There are some other exceptional visa types, but these are the most important ones and the ones that are most interesting for foreigners.
Thank you for the great tips, Dr. Rostas. It was very helpful to know these different visa types and the way that we should go. We will ask questions at the end of the webinar. Okay, now I invite Alejandra Coronel Mengel, the CEO of Huitzilli Cultural Expression, to guide us through the unwritten rules of cultural integration and adaptation.
Thank you, Dr. Lalima. Thank you, Dr. Sheila. It was a wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed it. And I think all of our viewers are going to be really interested in all the ways that they can go to Germany. From my side, let's move a little bit to the things that we usually don't list for when we want to travel or when we want to move to live to another country. Because I bet you think about moving to Germany and you're just crossing out clothes, visas, special documentations that you may require. But what are the things that we usually left behind or what we usually avoid? And those things are what are going to make your transition run smoother, right? So let's see. So just very quick, I wrote some unwritten rules of cultural integration that is going to help you to adapt to your new country, right? Dr. Sheila mentioned that some visas will require language skills, but some others will not. And one of the unwritten rules, number one, would be learn the language. It's very important to communicate to the locals, right? Even though the 56% of the Germans speak English and very good English, I must say, especially in big cities with a lot of young people, they would prefer to speak to you in their local language. Like if we think about this in reverse, if a foreigner was coming into your country, you would feel more comfortable talking to that person in your native language, right? Rather than English, where things can get messy or misinterpreted, right? Even though we think that English is like a international language, which we all should speak, never rely on English to socialize because it will, instead of creating like a bridge, will create a barrier. Germans really appreciate when you say danke or bitte, small things that will make them feel that you're actually trying. So that's number one, right? Then let's move a little bit to social interaction. As Latin Americans, we are very warm. We feel like hugging, like talking to people a lot. And this might not be exactly the case when we move to Germany, right? Some statistics have said that Germans do not have that many friends as if we were in Colombia, Mexico, Argentina. We tend to have more friends, right? But in this case, Germans have not many, but the quality is what stands out here, right? They will have friends that they truly trust and they feel they can count on. So in this sense, you can feel that your social integration is not going as well as it could go in your home, back in your home country. But here you will have to be patient, right? And try building relationships with trust and respect. Always making sure that you're giving your 100% and telling the other person that can trust you, right? Then let's move to direct communication. In Latin American countries, we tend to sugarcoat a lot of our communication. We are not as direct, or we try not to be as direct, otherwise might get offended. This is actually not the case for Germans. When they talk, they do it in a more direct way because they believe that being direct is also being respectful. So don't take it personal when someone talks to you in a direct way. This is just the way the language is and the culture is. And lastly, formalities. In Latin America, we do have formalities, but as you all know, when we get comfortable, we tend to use informal language. Here, I would advise you to use always the formal interaction or the formal pronouns as "sie" until that other person tells you that you are able to talk to that person in an informal way. Even though the world is changing to a more informal place due to technology and some other kind of things, please always refer to someone that you don't know, or if it's older than you, in a formal way. This way, that person will feel that it's being valued and that you have a lot of respect for them. I know that these things might seem like obvious, but also think that when you arrive into a new country, you always need to try to relearn and unlearn, because we come with of course, our values, our backgrounds, our culture, and we try to look for similarities between them, right? But sometimes those similarities might not fit exactly the way we imagine, and that's perfectly fine. We're landing into a new culture and into a new country, into a new language, and we need to let that country guide us and also the people around. Be curious, be talkative to other people if you can. Try to learn as much as you can from others, and that's one of the main keys that will help you to your adaptation in the new country. I think that will be it for me. Thank you, Dr. Lalima.
Thank you so much, Alejandra. It was so interesting to know about that unlearning and relearning process. That is what we normally forget when we go to a new country. We bring our own way of thinking, which will not work all the time. Okay, I will now ask a few questions that I got from the audience also, and then I will forward it to you. I will first go with Dr. Sheila, if that is fine with you, Dr. Sheila.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so we just want to know whether there is a cap on the number of visas issued by the German government each year. Yeah.
Germany does not impose an annual cap on the total number of visas issued, but there are some specific quotas, and these are for certain visa categories. For example, in 2024, Germany announced a significant increase in the annual visa quota for skilled workers, for example, from India. And this aims to strengthen economic and technological collaboration also between the two countries, India and Germany. Statistics, but based on some available data, Germany issued more than 400,000 national visas in 2024.
Oh, thank you so much. That is so interesting. Yeah. Okay. So then, do you have to show any finances when applying for a German visa? Is there any financial requirement when applying?
Not for all the visa types. For example, for the Chancenkarte, the opportunity card, that is a job seeker visa. And for that, you have to support yourself financially. So you need to cover your living costs, and usually around 1,027 euros per month. That should be the minimum. And sometimes they require also a blocked account for that. And also for students, for the student visa, you need to show around 11,000 euros, and you need to have a blocked account. So the student visa and the Chancenkarte, the opportunity card, the job seeker, the new job seeker visa is like that. But for work permit, no.
Oh, this is very interesting to know. So, like people who are interested in applying to come to Germany, and if you have a university degree, you can apply based on your,
Yeah.
if you don't, if you're not, if you can, even if you can't show the finances, you have the ability to apply, right? Okay, that's
Yes, if you have a
interesting.
work employment contract or a job offer, then you can apply without that. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Thank you so much for that. So the next question is for Dr. Sheila as well as Alejandra. So I will go with my next question, which is uh, like what is the difficulty level of learning the German language? And is there any way to learn German language? And this, as the CEO of Huitzilli, like, do you guys teach the German language?
Thank you. Yes, I would say that every language is hard if you don't want to learn it. And it also depends on your background, right? If you already know English, if you already know another language, it will be easier for you, right? The more languages you know, the easier it gets. One of the things that is special from German is that they tend to be very specific and they get together a lot of words. That's why at the end we end up with a really huge word. But that's also the beauty of the language, right? Being very specific. And once you learn how to get all the words together, it will be easier for you. Here in Huitzilli, we do teach German, also some other languages if someone is interested. We teach them through peace education techniques. So it's smoother for the person to learn not just about the language, but also about the culture and those things we mentioned before.
Okay, so because you talked about the culture, so do you have any culture and peace education? Do you have any tips for cultural integration? And do you guys offer any workshops on that so that people who are joining would know better?
Yes, absolutely. We do have cross-cultural trainings from Latin Americans to Germany or any part of the world going to Germany or even to foreigners coming to Latin America. We cover a little bit of what I mentioned in my presentation, and we go a bit deeper in the sense of here in Latin America and in some other countries, we tend to use a lot our body languages, and they do as well in a different way. So we learned about the social cultural context that they are landing. Also, depending on the city they are going, the culture might be different. You cannot generalize all Germans or all cities. Even Germans would tell you like someone from the north is different from the south, as well as in our own countries, right? The accents, the culture, the habits, it's very different, right? So we take in a case-by-case basis, right? If you're telling me I'm moving to Germany, I will go deeper. Like, where in Germany? What are you going to do there? With who are you traveling? Because all those little details matter to make like a full integration, not just for you, but also the person you're traveling with.
Okay, so I also want to ask from both of you, like, do you guys get together and do customized workshops for people who are interested in reaching out to you? If a company or someone wants to do a customized workshop for the certain target group, would you guys be able to do it for them?
Yes.
Yeah, from my part, yes, also. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Dr. Sheila is in the visa part, and I'll accompany that process with the cross-cultural training. And if they need also language learning training, we provide it as well.
And if you guys can explain like which languages that you can present, like do the workshops, like will you guys do it in German, Spanish, like but whichever language that they prefer?
Yes, depends on the person's whatever that person wants, right? If they are more comfortable in English or in Spanish, we will make it work.
Thank you so much for that. So my last question is, if someone is interested in reaching out to you, how can they reach out to you both?
Mainly LinkedIn. I think I use a lot LinkedIn recently, and just feel free to write me, add me there, and you can visit my website. That's my name and .com. And you can email me. You find my contact details there.
And for us, we do have a LinkedIn page and Instagram and Facebook as Huitzilli Cultural Expression. You can also add me directly as Alejandra C. Mengelle. And yeah, we'll be happy to get in contact with you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sheila Rostas and Alejandra Menkeye, for the very insightful presentation. Like, yeah, I learned a lot from you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to, and for all of you. It was really nice today, and it was very interesting to learn from you too, Alejandra.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sheila,
Yeah.
Dr. Lalima, and to all the audience. It was lovely having you.